I enjoy doing hair. I love doing my own hair. I fell in love with that because I just did. It made me feel good about myself. And I began to do people's hair in college. But I got to college and lost my mind.
What does that mean? Please tell.
I got to college, y'all. I partied. I did not go to class.
The song was?
No, I'ma drag him through the river, dump his body in junkyard. I don't even know if that's what they say. You badass yellow boy. Oh, he wants some.
All right.
Okay, so that was my favorite song.
Faster, but yeah, I think.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Freshman year, every party, yes. If you know me, if you know, you know. But I really lost my mind. Welcome to another episode of Catch 22 Podcast. I'm Tashell.
And I'm Dr. Chris.
Something's really wrong with you, babe. I'm really convinced. I really am convinced. So, how you feeling?
I feel good today.
Do you?
Yeah. It's nice and front.
Okay.
Enjoying this, I guess, this last week of vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Just ready to start churning. It's the fall season,
Oh,
baby.
my favorite time of year.
It's about to be the fall season, and in the fall, you know what time it is. Football and band.
Gosh.
And
Football.
And baseball. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all of that. All of his favorite things.
All cranks up. It all cranks up.
Okay. Well, let's jump on into what we're talking about today.
Why are you jumping in so fast?
Because I know you got a lot to say.
Oh, okay.
I
digress.
We have a limited amount of time on this subject. You got a whole lot to say. Speaking of which, make sure y'all go back and watch the other episode. That was the third episode. Yes. Because Chris did a whole lot of talking. Why your face looking like that?
I'm trying to figure out what you were about to say.
That you did a whole lot of talking. So they need to go back
I did.
and listen to see what you had to say because it was good.
Well, thank you.
All right. You're welcome, baby. So jumping in, like I said, we're talking about transitioning to adulthood. He's excited about talking about that today. Why you pumping fists in the air?
Why?
Yeah.
Because I thought adulthood was going to be something different. And it's totally different from what I thought.
What did you think?
So I'm pumping. Well, man, I'm getting away from my parents. I'm moving. I'm going to have my own space. I get to do whatever I want to do. But nobody just really mentioned the responsibilities of being an adult and what that looks like. So you want to, matter of fact, let's talk about your adulthood first, and then I'll just chime in with my little nuggets of stories that I have. Let's talk about your child, from childhood
My
to
transition?
childhood to adulthood.
Man, I just knew, I don't know if I really wanted to go to college after graduating high school. I think that's what I felt like I had to do. I wasn't really given that option.
Okay.
It wasn't really discussed a lot in my home. Anything I knew about next steps after graduating high school came from high school counselor.
Okay.
And so we went on the Texas college tour, I remember, during our interim term. And so for me, part of becoming an adult was to go to college. And I didn't think about getting out of the house. I didn't want to go too far because I was afraid to go too far away from home. But I just wanted, I guess, to experience everybody had. I didn't have anybody in my family that actually told me about their college experience that made me excited to look forward to it.
Okay.
And so I went to Sam Houston State University. It was far enough away, but close.
Right.
And I don't even remember touring Sam Houston State before I even went, like with my stuff to move in. I went for orientation that summer, but I don't remember touring saying, oh, this is where I want to be. I chose it based on its location. It's just a lot of stuff that I just didn't know that I should have been thinking about or asking about. But that transition was just I
Like
don't know. I didn't know what came with college. I didn't know what to expect.
bought a car sight unseen.
I did. I did. And then I was like, what do I major in? Because, okay, you go to college, you get a degree, you make money. That was sort of like what that was painted out to me. And especially being a Second Baptist, everybody pretty much was set financially as far as everybody's parents. And so I was like, okay, well, I know I need to be independent. I want to take care of myself. This is the route of doing that, right? All along, I enjoyed doing hair. I love doing my own hair. I fell in love with that because I just did. It made me feel good about myself. And I began to do people's hair in college. But I got to college and lost my mind.
What does that mean? Please tell.
I got to college, y'all. I partied. I did not go to class.
The song was.
No, I'm going to drag him through the river, dump his body in junkyard. I don't even know if that's what they say. You badass yellow boy. Oh, he wants some.
All right.
Okay. So that was my favorite song.
Pastor, but I think, yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Freshman year, every party, yes. If you know me, if you know, you know. But I really lost my mind. I chose my major based on the fact that I wanted a hair salon. I love numbers. So I was like, oh, maybe I should go to school for business and accounting. I love numbers. And I want to own a hair salon, business that goes together, right? Boring. I was bored out of my mind. That's why I didn't go to class. But I had the time of my life that 1 year at Sam Houston until I flunked out. What about you, babe?
You said that swiftly.
I did until I flunked out, you know.
That was a swift transition.
I did. I disappointed my family. I went through a whole lot.
Well, for me, I was gonna play professional, but you know, it was the still. I come from a home of You know, my mom was an educator, so it was. We call it STEM now. Back then, you know, I was going to be an engineer. I was going to classes, 11th grade, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at Lamar on the weekends, on Saturdays, called it was GT Tame. Yes, I'll never forget this. Some of y'all probably out there watching that probably was a part of it. We probably crossed paths because we was going to UT and A&M and all these different agriculture schools, but we never went to PV. But I digress. I keep moving. But so I was being groomed to be an engineer.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be an engineer. But in my heart of hearts, I was a drummer by gift. I was an athlete by gift. And I was like, but where does baseball and music, where does that fit in being an engineer? You need to, I'm going to tell you how bad it was. I got in the band in the 7th grade and my passion was playing the drums. My dad, y'all go back and watch episode 2, 3. And my dad was like, no, you need to learn notes, not playing drums. You need to learn music. So understand. I was like, man, I want to play no horn, right? Fast forward as I went through, you know, high school, got to, you know, decided, okay, and I mean, I was a pretty smart kid and had scholarships to OU, to Stanford, Oklahoma State,
Married a geek.
Texas, to UT, Texas A&M. And of course, you know, that was, you know, a mixture between athletics and academics. And so what I end up doing, man, and I'm going to say this for the first time. My high school coach played baseball at Prairie Gang, but my summer league coach was basically going to another school. I'm not going to mention the school, but was going to another school, which is right up the road from Beaumont. Y'all figure it out. And I literally, for the summer, enrolled in that school and went there, and it was like, I can't be here. So understanding back then, and if you all are caught up on sports now, there's this transfer portal that you can just jump in and move around. Well, I couldn't do that. I had signed, but I had to end up going to a Division I AA school back at the time. There was no transfer portal. So, I called up my coach, God rest his soul, Coach Cotton. Hey man, look, I got something for you. So ended up, that's how I got to Prairie View. And they had engineering. And they didn't have scholarships, but they had engineering scholarships. Oh yeah, wow. I'm on it. Yeah, I'm gonna be an engineer. And I get to play baseball. Cool. I went to that first class, engineering concepts.
Sounds boring.
And it was boring. I made it through that first semester. I was like, oh my jeez, what's going on? But then one of my end up being one of my potential frat brothers. Now, well, he's my frat brother now, but at the time we were all, we call ourselves crabs. Mm-hmm. Coming to the band, but I didn't go to PV to be in the band at all. Even though I played band all the way through middle school, high school, I was not. And so again, this is all a part of this journey into adulthood, but it was kind of unorthodox because I didn't have a plan for it. Mm. Just kind of happened. And so I ended up, I heard the band playing. I'm like, man, they staying out late. And one night doing what I do, just basically, doing what we do as boys, freshmen, we away from home, that I'm on my own now. So I get to hang out, stay out as late as I want. Oh yeah, and this girl's here too. Boy, it's about to be on. And so, I'm hanging out, and then one of my I didn't even know him, but I did know of him. We lived in the same dorms. He's like, hey man, I heard you played tuba. Man, how you heard that? I guess through friends. We end up talking, and bam, I was at band practice with a white t-shirt on the very next day, understanding that I was also at PV to play baseball.
It's a whole lot.
So I was at PV to play baseball. I was going to practice in the fall and band practice at night. It was all the way year round. Again, not a part of the process. So, but what did that teach me? Time management.
What did it?
Time management.
It sure
Time
did.
management. Then I had a great mentor who guided me through adulthood. And that was Prof. George Edwards. Everybody who know me know I talk about him.
Yes.
But he was my mentor through my journey coming through PV at the age of 18 years old. And was distraught when I left because I ended up leaving. I also fell below the qualified GPA because I had pledged. And granted, my GPA dropped from I had a 3.1 and it dropped to a 2.5. So I lost my scholarship and had to make a decision. I wasn't staying at home. Watch episode 3, you know why. And I decided to go to the armed forces. They put my eligibility on hold because I played 1 year. They put my eligibility on hold and I became a whole Army guy. Not a part of the plan.
Definitely not.
Not a part of the plan, but I was just determined not to be at home. Remember I said, man, I got my freedom. Episode 3 will tell you why. I just didn't want to. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. But again, I'm 19 and 19, just finished pledging, just became a man in the Army. And that's when I learned discipline. I'm not going to say I was a hard-headed kid, but I didn't listen. And so again, that a lot of those childish ways carried with me into the Army. Mm-hmm. I was still able to play ball while I was out there. And at that time, the Gulf War was happening. So just in those spaces, dealing with that, training and doing all this. And they was like, hey, early out to go back to school. Sign me up. I'm out of here. Honorable discharge, was able to get early out with all service given to me. And, that was 2 years of my life. And I moved. Of course, during that time in the service, I got married, my first wife, and we had a child, Tamia, and moved to Austin.
How old were you when you moved there?
21,
I didn't know you were that young.
21 years old, and I'm still trying to figure it out.
At 21.
At 21, still had my still childish ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And married, but still had my childish ways. The journey went on, and went back to school. Ended up, got my eligibility back, and playing ball, and went to trials after trials, and finally got the end played independent, and then got in a car accident, and that was it. It was a wrap. So no baseball, but I did, and of course I did get my degree, and accolades, and all the things that was expected, but the journey was. But I was again thinking that I was still an adult, like these are the college days.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned so much. When I got back to college, I was a little bit more mature. I was mature, but I still had a little bit of those silly ways. Like, you can't tell me that. But you can, but you can't. I only listen to people who were in authority.
Gotcha.
That's all I was accustomed to. Authoritative figures, you're telling me this is what I need to do. Yes, I'm going to do it. But there was far few in between. It was enough men around at that time to really point me, because I didn't know what was next.
Yeah.
I had no idea. My desire after, the car accident, my desire to play ball was out the door. And I was just like, so what's next? I'm not going to be an engineer.
Yeah.
And so for years, I was trying to figure out what was next. So life happened. I always had a certain lifestyle that I knew that I would always have. So everything I did, I was working towards that. And faith without works, I understood that. Like, I could not just sit around and twiddle my thumbs and expect somebody to give me something.
Right.
And so those words from Prophet Edwards and things he would always say, hey man, look, what are you doing next?
Mm-hmm.
So accountability became a big part of me figuring out what was next. Because at this time, I'm 24. I'm an old college guy at this time.
Mm-hmm.
24, 25. And I'm still, graduating now, I'm trying to figure out what's next for me. And I still did not know what was next. I was finished my bachelor's in kinesiology, and I wanted, at that time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a physical therapist. I knew I was going to do that. But then there was a waiting list of 2 years for TWU. It was in Denton. I know there's one here now, but it was 2-year wait. And I was like, man, I don't have 2 years to wait. But what if I would have?
Never know.
Right? But was that truly my passion? Was it something that I was supposed to be doing? I still didn't know. So after you left, what was next?
After I left Sam, I went to cosmetology school. Mm-hmm. Since I had been doing people's hair, and they loved the fact that, their results of their hair, they were like, well, I think you should go and do hair. I'm like, I ran from that because on my side of town, it wasn't something that was attractive, I would say. I grew up on the north side of Houston. I loved my hairstylist, but I didn't like the environment. It's not something I could see myself being in all the time. I wanted to own a hair salon, not work in one.
Right.
And so I ran from that gift for a long time because I didn't want to be labeled as a beautician. I didn't. It was nothing attractive about that. I didn't. I just.
Well, that's why you.
What?
I'm not a beautician.
Oh yeah, I really don't like that word. But it's what they used. A hairstylist. But it's the word they used, back in the day.
That's all I knew.
So a lot of times when you use the word beautician in modern day, it speaks of an old school back in the day hairstylist, meaning your style's gonna come out that way. But anyway, went to cosmetology school and got pregnant with Taylor. And that was something very unexpected. Very unexpected, as I never thought I'd be in that situation, to be a single mom.
Juvenile make that happen.
I never thought it'd be like that for me.
Right.
But it made me very, if you watch episode 3, you already know how I was feeling about myself. So it made it even worse. I felt embarrassed to be having a baby at 21 and pregnant. I feel like, well, who really gonna want me? Who really gonna love me? Now I have a baby, you know? But that baby was a blessing to me because she gave me purpose for living, like for striving. Because as I look back at myself, I was a huge procrastinator. I would say I was going to do something, but I didn't do it. I had some laziness going on. Everything, I wanted to be life full of fun. I wanted to be fun, full of dancing and music, everything. And that's just not reality. So I was boy crazy, just looking for love in all the wrong places, compromising who I really was, the church girl, just to be in the mix. You know, I liked the popular guys because I was quiet. And I always wanted the guy that everybody else wanted. That's just crazy, but I did. And so after I had her, I became a licensed hairstylist, but I still didn't go into it. I like numbers, so I worked at a bank for a couple of years. I loved being a teller, but the pay wasn't enough for me.
Right.
As far as how I want to live, because keep in mind, in my mind, I'm thinking about how these Second Baptist parents living. And I need to do something bigger.
Episode 3.
Yeah. I need to do something bigger than what my environment was. That was my goal. Even though I didn't have a path. I didn't have a plan or a path. So after doing that, I began to do hair here and there while I was working at the bank because I just love the industry so much. And I ended up getting sick, which I feel like we'll talk about that in a whole nother episode because there's so much to it. But I spent a couple of years, I would say, dealing with the recovery of being ill. And that had a big impact on my life, but it revealed my purpose. It revealed my purpose. I didn't know what purpose was. So just in case there's anybody watching this video that's 19, 20, or 50, and you really don't know what purpose is, you hear that word thrown around because I didn't know. For me, it's what God created you to do. There's something that he had in mind when he put you in your mother's womb of how he would use you to impact the world in a positive way. That would be whether it be your gifts and talents that he placed inside of you. How do you give that back to the world in service to others? That's your purpose. And I know you said something earlier. You said, is it purpose or is it? And so I think it's different. I think purpose and path are two totally different things because I think like what I just defined purpose, but path for me is the journey of your purpose, of having a purpose, but it's just your journey. Your path to me is where you find your purpose. Feel like your story is your journey. And if you just write out your story, because I had to go to actually a class, I was going to a church and I was a part of some ministry and they wanted us to find our purpose. And we had to write our life story and get up and talk about it. But that's where you find your purpose. It's found in your path previous to, you know.
So what are you trying to identify when you're telling your story? What are you trying to identify in your story to say, okay, yeah, that's
something that is a recurring theme of how either someone has helped you, that help has transitioned you or transformed you, and you want to give that same thing to someone else, or you want to be preventative of some type of pain that you've like experienced. You want to help someone else to rid of that pain.
okay.
Like for me, hair. being a hairstylist. I ended up being a hairstylist, and I'm licensed of 25 years. But I got into that because I felt the confidence and uplifting while I got my hair done.
Gotcha.
So how it made me feel and how it made me have higher self-esteem, starting with looking in the mirror and how that hairstyle made me feel. I wanted to give that same feeling to other women. Does that make sense? But it's bottled up with, that's a passion to me, but it's bottled up with, eventually, it's how I inspire. The things that went on in that space, the empowerment, the inspiration. So ultimately for me, it's different portals of gifts and talents of how God has created me to connect with someone to share Jesus with them.
So when I think of passion is really what makes you happy along your journey.
Passion?
But as you're finding, I think if you find passion, you find purpose.
That's what you think?
That's what I think.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that.
If you find passion, you find purpose. Because it's things that'll make you happy. Things that you would do that if you woke up in the morning and didn't get paid for it.
Yeah.
Would you still do it?
But is that happiness or is it fulfillment? Or is it both?
Fulfillment means, because if I'm fulfilled, I'm happy.
Okay, you think it's both. That's just a question, baby.
If I'm fulfilled, I'm happy. And I don't know if it's man or woman or this, if it's just the human race in its entirety, but if we tend to gravitate to things that make us happy because we like that feeling of being happy. It's not consistent all the time, but if it's something that we are engaging, that we're doing, and it makes me happy, like it won't. Now I'm saying this, like I love training kids in baseball. If I didn't get paid to do that, I would still do that because it burns. Like I love doing that. It makes me happy to be around the game still.
Yeah.
So that is how I was able to identify with this is what I'm gonna be doing. In addition to amongst other things, but this is a part of my purpose. Is to do that. My question to you is, when do you find it? Is there an age that you let me not say old because I'm old too. But when do you find purpose?
When?
Do you seek it? Like do you go out and do you seek purpose, or do you feel people are operating not in purpose?
Oh yeah.
In this day and age?
Oh yeah.
And then how do you, we've kind of talked about how to identify it, but like, what do you say to people who really don't know?
So I think you seek purpose. It's there, but if you don't know that you should be living a purpose-driven life, then you don't go looking for it. Does that make sense?
So you're saying everybody should be seeking purpose.
I do. And even with our kids, after finding purpose, because I believe, to me, a lot of people teach their children, you graduate high school. You go to college. And why do they tell you what you should go to college for? Because of how much money it pays.
Right.
That to me is a person that's driven by money. You can go and do something and get paid a lot of money and be miserable because you're just doing it for the money. It's not something that you really desire to do. It's not something that's in you to do. Right. So to be purpose driven, which is, after you hear about my story, I really had to find out why I was still living. And when people be like, oh, you must have purpose, what you've been through, I'm like, well, what is this purpose everybody's talking about? And I actually read the book, Purpose Driven Life, because I wanted to know. And that's something that you seek, you pray about and ask God, what is your purpose? Even with our children, I pray that they find purpose and walk in that purpose. Because when you do that, you never feel like you're going to work. You always feel fulfilled. You enjoy what you do. When I found you, I knew you didn't like really hone in on your purpose. No. Because you were all over the place. Right. And so that's when we started having those talks like, No, what is it specifically that God has you to do? And so when you narrow down that if it's in sports or music, life totally changed for you. Like,
Absolutely.
he's busy a lot, but I know that everything he does, he loves it. Like he said he would do it without getting paid. That is when you know you have locked into your purpose. When God has created you to do something and you found it.
Right.
That's it. Because that's what's going to keep you going. No amount of money
Right.
is going to keep you going on a path of positivity. It's going to be something that helps somebody else. It's going to be something outside of a gain that's selfish. It's how you enhance the world in your own special way. It doesn't matter what age. It could be any age. I pray that it's an earlier age because you'll have a more fulfilling life. Because I feel like that's what's missing a lot in people's lives is they don't know why they were created. They don't know why they stand out.
Right.
They don't know what they should be doing or looking for when they walk into a room of people, how they are an asset to the space and the people that they encounter. They have no idea. And so it's huge. Everything I do is purpose backed. I don't take speaking engagement. I don't do anything if it's not in alignment with what God has created me to do.
So what do you say to the, inheritance of business? I started this business and this kid's supposed to,
I know what you're going to say.
family's supposed to take this over. And they choose not, they show no interest. Is that okay for them to feel that way?
Yeah, it's okay. Because just because it was their parents, and we see families do that all the time. We started this, we built this for our children. That's not fair to your child because you don't know what God has purposed them to do. It may be something totally different. And that's not fair for you to put your vision of what God placed in you and make your family fall into their vision.
Right.
So I don't think it's anything wrong with that. With our kids, we already see, okay, that's just not for them. We say, hey, we can help you do this. You could do this. And if they don't want to do it,
right,
then it's fine. I mean,
I just oppose that question.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people in that situation.
Because I kept running, my mom kept telling me, no, don't be an educator. No, don't be an educator. Don't be an educator. And I'll be darned. What am I?
An educator.
Educator, right? And so I'm just, happy now that going through the journey that I went to, or taking the path, finding my passion, which was still in sports, still in music, and marrying all that together in one big gumbo, and just start eating from it, and then things started to happen. And I don't deviate.
Yeah.
I really don't deviate, and and I think what I found that I've become a great connector. I found that I love inspiring the next generation in music and in sports, and like I said, all this was just done just being obedient and understanding what makes me, besides my family, what makes me happy that I would like to do, and I'll deal with what I guess some people may call monetary gains. That that there may be some shortcomings into that.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, I think if you follow that, the money comes.
It will.
The money will follow you.
It says it in the Bible.
Not you following.
Your gift will make room for you. It just does.
Exactly.
It just does.
So for those of y'all who, man, Chris, what does he do? Educator at ACC and at U of H. Right? I found that passion to excel the next generation of youth. I coach and train in the baseball space. I am an entrepreneur as a sports marketing agent, right? And so I deal with youth, and specifically with underprivileged collegiate kids on the HBCU space, as y'all can see right here. Let me go ahead and flip that hat around. My alma mater, I love it to death, and I'll do anything not only for Prairie View but for any HBCU student or any student that's trying to propel in the sports world, because it's difficult. That's what I did my dissertation on. Like, you have to incubate this stuff in order to get the result of some, kids becoming ADs, kids becoming not just an athlete, a professional athlete, which is 2%, or just a coach, right? It has to propel beyond that, and you have to incubate that, and so I've been able to partner with a lot of people and work with different organizations to do this, and I love the simple fact that I found my niche, my passion, as I say in class, my USP, my unique selling proposition.
Yes.
Right, my niche. But that realistically is my purpose and my passion. You want to close it?
I'll close it out. So for me, my purpose is to be all things beauty and wellness. To make it a short, cut and dry, teaching women how to be beautiful regarding their hair care. Also teaching them how to live toxin free, which is something that I've had to learn with everything that went on with me physically. I am an encourager. I'm an inspiration. And I just love to give God glory for everything that I do. That's pretty much my purpose of life. Is to be, and I want to say this one quick thing. He has his doctorate, and I didn't finish my degree. And for a long time, it bothered me. It made me very insecure. But that was not the path that God had for me. And for those of you who your path is not a degree, or it's a trade or anything else, there's nothing wrong with you, because I felt that way for a long time. You are worthy. You are still enough. But everybody's path is different. So don't compare your path to anybody else's path. We get along great. We still gel. We're both entrepreneurs. And I respect the hell out of him as Dr. Christopher. And he respects the hell out of me. And that's what makes this a beautiful thing in life. For us to always just love each other just the way that we are, despite our different paths and journeys. So we hope that you were inspired by this episode. Find your path. Find your purpose. Don't compare yourself. You are enough. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for watching another episode of the Catch 22 podcast featuring Chris and Tashell.
We really hope that you enjoyed it. We hope that you felt empowered, inspired, and connected to our journey in some type of way. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next one. And remember to tell your story, because it definitely changes lives.